Why has Chris Whitty got it wrong? Chris Whitty is his name. He is the Chief Medical Officer, by definition, the most senior clinician in the land. Bit of a backstory. He went to Oxford. He's still a practicing NHS physician. He knows more about infectious diseases than almost anyone else on earth. He's lived and worked around the world. Chris is a very clever man. He's also got another role as well. Not many people know about this one. Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Grim Reapers. Chris is not a positive man. He's the man that would burst all the balloons at the kids' party because there might be a health and safety risk. He's the guy that would tell you can't park there because of the vague possibility that a group of octogenarian ramblers might be on their once every 2-year hike and need the rights of way. This is the man who would object to the neighbour's planning permission because the guttering looks a bit wobbly and you never know when a typhoon-hurricane combo might hit the streets. Can't be too careful. That's our Chris. Very careful. But he's also the government's chief medical officer, and he's got a brain the size of the universe. He's talking there about doubling up. Can we hear that again, Amy? That Chris Whitty speaking about, this is not about COVID in itself. This is about what it's doing to hospitals right now.
We've still got over 2,000 people in hospital, and that number is increasing. If we double from 2,000 to 4,000, and 4,000 to 8,000, 8,000, and so on, it doesn't take many doubling times till you're into very, very large numbers indeed. And the doubling time at the moment is probably around about 3 weeks.
So that would suggest, based on, and there's no hyperbole here, just based on where we've been before, in theory, we could have another lockdown in a matter of weeks because of the doubling time. So 2,000 at the moment, then you get into 4,000, 8,000, 16. Just tell me, why is Chris Whitty wrong? And you know I'm asking this. I'm meant to be asking these questions for the sake of national debate, so that everybody listening can learn something. We can be a bit educated. We'll speak to the experts. We'll speak to the various characters that have concerns about this. That's what my job is to do. But I'm not asking for that reason. I'm asking because I want to know. Has Chris Whitty got it? Please, somebody tell me. Chris Whitty has got this wrong. Because if we follow the doubling theory, then as sure as night follows day, there would have to be a lockdown. Right? Not because COVID's going to kill everybody, but because the premise of the lockdown is based on saving the NHS. So it's about NHS capacity, NHS's ability to cope. Can the NHS deal with such an influx and an increase? So let's assume nobody dies during the next month or two, but they're in hospital, okay? So the vaccine's kind of doing what it's meant to do. Not as many people not as many people as we have seen, that's the sentence, in hospital, but too many for the NHS to be able to cope with. Now, as far as I can ascertain, that is what Mr. Whitty is saying. Remember, he may well be the purveyor of doom, but he is the chief medical officer. He's stating hospitalizations, based on what we're seeing, could doubling time 3 weeks, bang, bingo, away you go. Before you know it, you've got 16,000 people in hospital. And much like a sinking ship, it doesn't take much to tip the balance of what is and what isn't possible in terms of making the NHS function. So, is he right? And if he's not right, why is he wrong? I need to know, because otherwise I'm going to go absolutely flipping crackers at this end. This is driving me nuts. I'm thinking, got a busy weekend. I've got a few things happening at the weekend. I've got a nice big party to go to on Sunday. Loads going on. I don't want to think that in 3 weeks' time, just as the weather starts to get nice, I'm going to be sitting at home again. No sports centres open. Can't take the kids swimming. Can't have a barbecue. Can't go to the pub. I am absolutely beside myself, quite seriously, that is where we might end up. Not because the COVID is going to kill us, not because more people are going to die, but simply based on the fact that more people will be in hospital. Please tell me why Chris Whitty has got this wrong. I think we all need to know, don't we? Look, I'm planning a very busy summer, Jonathan. It's as simple as that. The sun is out. I've got a nice weekend coming up. I want many more of those. And now I've got Chris Whitty in my ear telling me, well, doubling up of hospitals, we know where that ends up. What's your take on this?
I would listen to Chris Whitty. I think he knows what he's talking about.
Oh.
And I would go further perhaps than Chris Whitty. I would argue very strongly that some of these relaxations are probably not a good idea.
I mean, there's so many facets to this, isn't there? I mean, there's so many elements to this, and people come at it from multiple angles. I guess one of the most important ones is about the sort of economy, the economic health of the nation, as well as the health of the nation. And opening up and getting things back to a semblance of normality is absolutely crucial. If we don't do that, people are distressed in many other ways, from mental illness to all manner of other issues that people have because of the economic strangulation that we've been through.
I'm not going to disagree with you about that. I mean, there is economic strangulation. However, we can be absolutely certain that things will not be right with the health of our nation under these circumstances.
But we've got most people double jabbed now, haven't we? So, I mean, surely that
we're still lacking a fair number who are not. And you have to remember that double jab does not necessarily mean full protection. It means relative protection. So if you have large numbers of people who are infected, you will still have the virus circulating.
But that's an argument to remain in perpetual lockdown, isn't it?
Not in perpetual lockdown, but I suspect that what the cynic might say that what the government is trying to do is to get to the levels of immunity which will give protection to the population in general. And they're doing it by letting infection rip.
And is that, I mean, there are clinicians and scientists who do sense that as a way of dealing with it. I'm assuming you don't.
I'm not in complete agreement with those people.
Yeah. I mean, is that because you don't believe there is enough evidence to support that way of dealing with it, or you sense it's dangerous?
I think there is plenty of evidence that people will get sick, suffer from long COVID, and some may die, and we really should be trying to prevent the spread of the virus and trying to reduce the numbers of people who are carrying the virus around with them.
And if we had everybody more or less double jabbed, would that change your position, Jonathan?
I think it would. I mean, I would like to see more of the 20-year-olds, more of the adolescents vaccinated, and I think that could be done over the next 2 or 3 months.
And many people, of course, counter that and say, look, most people will get this. They possibly won't even know they've had it. It'll just go through the nation. 1 or 2, people along the way in every group will have it worse than their mates, and they might be in bed for a few days like we have with other viruses. But it ain't going to send most people into hospital and linked up to a ventilator.
Maybe not, but if 1 in 20 or 1 in 50 ends up in that way, and you can prevent it by taking reasonable precautions, then would you want to?